Hey folks, this is Vincent Vinny Jr. from Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to talk X-Wing. We're not actually going to play X-Wing. I think it was a few days ago, Vinny Jr. and I sat down and we were talking about what our favorite ships and pilots were, and we figured, you know what, let's go ahead and save this conversation for an actual video that we could publish and share with the rest of you, because I'm sure you guys have some input too. We didn't really plan this all that well. I just quickly took a piece of paper and wrote down what our answers were. We did our favorite Rebel ship, our second favorite Rebel ship, our favorite Imperial ship, our second favorite Imperial ship, and then we did the same thing with the Rebel Imperial pilot. So I guess we'll start off with your favorite Rebel ship. Which one did you pick? The Y-Wing?
Yes.
Why do you like the Y-Wing?
Because it's more durable. Plus it's pretty durable for its standing.
It's durable.
And it has a turret, which allows it to stand.
You like the turret. Now, I thought about that, and I mean, I like the Y-Wing for that reason. I do like the fact that it can sport an ion turret and a blaster turret. But part of me is like, you know what, the B-Wing has, in terms of hit points, the same exact number of hit points. The Y-Wing has 5 hull and 3 shields, whereas the B-Wing has 5 shields and 3 hull. So it can take more shield hits and less hull hits. The advantage to that is obviously the critical hits. The B-Wing can stave off more critical hits than the Y-Wing can because it has more shields. But at the same time, I don't think the B-Wing can sport a turret.
No.
So, like you said, the Y-Wing is a bit more durable in that regard, so I totally understand that. The downside to the Y-Wing is that its agility value is pretty low. Just like in the games that I used to play as a kid, there was an X-Wing game for the PC. Flying a Y-Wing, it was so slow, and it couldn't move anywhere. So, but at the same time, it can take a hit or two, and it can pack a bunch of proton torpedoes and blow its target out of the water. But this is a bomber, so that stands to reason.
And also it has like an astromech, like if you have like R2-D2.
It has the astromech. Does the B-Wing have the astromech?
No.
No. See?
It has a targeting computer already.
Mm-hmm.
Because that doesn't have one. That's what the R2 is for.
Oh, okay. So.
But that R2, like R2-D2, could replay all the shields, which would be better off than a B-Wing, since the B-Wing don't have that.
The B-Wing doesn't have the astromech. Mm-hmm.
That will allow it to repair the shields.
Interesting. Now, my favorite ship, X-Wing. I don't know, granted, there's the E-Wing, which supposedly is the better version of the X-Wing. It has better stats than the X-Wing does, if memory serves, but at the same time, the E-Wing is more expensive to put onto the battlefield than the X-Wing. And I don't know what it is about the X-Wing, but it's a classic Rebel ship. Ever since I watched A New Hope as a kid, watching the X-Wings fly down the Death Star trench run, and just the sheer amount of it can serve so many different purposes. It can be a fighter ship, but it can also be a bomber ship. It can launch proton torpedoes at capital ships, and it can dogfight with the best of them. So I like the X-Wing. I like the design, the aesthetics. The E-Wing, I don't know what it is. The E-Wing just looks like a little Volkswagen, and the X-Wing, it does. The E-Wing looks like this little tiny crunched in Volkswagen, and the X-Wing's like this majestic X just flying. It's just a power. It says power. The E-Wing does not say power to me. Just the design.
E-Wing does. It's meant to replace the A-Wing.
The E-Wing is supposed to replace the A-Wing.
Because
he has this Star Wars book that I gave him, and he reads up on all the lore. I admittedly don't. I just know what I know from playing these games as a kid. X-Wing, TIE Fighter, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, X-Wing Alliance. But he has a book. So the E-Wing is supposed to replace the A-Wing.
E-Wings are designed to do Imperial raids like A-Wings are supposed to do, but they are designed to get more firepower than. They can be used instead of a B-Wing. If the B-Wing is too slow for a mission, they can use E-Wings.
Mm-hmm. But weren't they really expensive though? The E-Wings really expensive?
No, they're a little bit more expensive. They're about as expensive as the B-Wing.
Oh, okay.
But
interesting.
But they're a little bit more because of the modifications they added. Mm-hmm. They have advanced computer systems that R2 units will pretty much blow itself up because it's too complicated.
Cool. Okay, let's see. On to our second favorite Rebel ship. Yours was the Z-95 Headhunter. Why is that?
I think the Z-95 is a really good ship since it is small and it doesn't have much hull or shields, but it can be used for like assault ship. Like even though it has
wasn't the Z-95 originally a atmosphere ship? Like it was meant to do planetary defense.
Usually the old Republic used them as like fighters.
I don't even think it had I didn't think it had life support even.
It did.
It did it? I thought the early Z-95s didn't have life support in the cockpit.
In the old Republic they did, but they were redesigned from Incom Corporation.
Incom Corporation.
I think they
look at you getting all technical. I'm like Incom, okay, whatever. I know the name.
That's why they but the Z-95 were redesigned.
Oh, were they?
That's why they're a little bit different than the old. That's why the Z-95 is now, when they're redesigned, it used the same material as that.
Cool.
As the X-Wing. Which allowed it to...
One thing I like about the Z-95, it's cheap to put on the battlefield. A lot of the Rebel ships are expensive. If you need a filler ship, let's say you only have 15 or 20 points left to spend, instead of spending them on upgrades, you can throw a cheap bandit in there. It's a nice filler ship. The Rebels didn't have a filler ship, really, until the Z-95 came along,
and there's
honestly.
A pilot that...
I mean, yeah, you had your Y-Wing, gold and gray squadrons and all that jazz, but they were still expensive. The Z-95...
Like, there's a pilot that I was thinking of what pilot I wanted, because I was hesitating on one pilot. There's a pilot that it will hit, even though if there's no damage, it'll still hit. So if you use the ion pulse
with the one pilot,
yeah.
So well, we're getting to the pilots. So hold your horses. Finally, my second favorite ship is the YT-1300. Is it? Yeah. Basically the Millennium Falcon. Just the ability to fire in 360 degrees. I haven't had time to play with the Outrider yet, which is the new, is that YT-2400 or something like that? I can't remember the designation. Yeah, that's Dash Rendar's ship. I haven't had time to play with that, but again, classic Star Wars. The Millennium Falcon, love that ship. Speedy, 360 firing arc. It has so much. It's not a piece of junk.
No, that was the quote from Luke.
I know it's a piece of junk, and also it said it can make 0.5 past light speed or something.
Yeah, but he overdid that with his ship. That's because he has to make last minute repairs before it can fly.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we'll take a break. My camera can only record in 10-minute segments, so we'll take a break here and we'll jump into the Imperial section. And we're back. We're going to go ahead and look at our favorite Imperial ship. Yours is what? Your favorite Imperial ship? The Decimator?
Yes.
Why the Decimator?
Favorite? Because it is a big and it does slow. It has barely any agility. Well,
it doesn't have any agility, but its turn rate is pretty impressive for a big ship. Compared to the Lambda class shuttle, you get a lot more maneuverability out of the VT-49.
And there's no red maneuver, so that would help.
Yeah, exactly. It does not have a red maneuver on its maneuver dial, whereas the Lambda shuttle has... I remember off the top of my head, but it has a 0.
That's really good against.
It can stay in place, but that's also a stressful maneuver.
Yeah,
if memory serves.
But the downside to a Lambda is that there is supposed to be a blaster turret in the back, but they didn't add that. They didn't add the
I'm thinking back to my X-Wing and TIE Fighter days on the PC. There were 2 types of Lambda class shuttles. The older ones, if I remember right, didn't have a turret in the back, but the newer ones, I think they were escort shuttles or something. They had a turret in the back.
Those are turbo laser. No, there's there's multiple versions of a Lambda. But the Tydarian shuttle.
The Tydarian. Oh, okay.
The Tydarian they stole.
Yeah.
That has a blaster. Because that is a Lambda T4A.
T4A. I'll take your word for it.
But there's other ones, like the Tydarian shuttle, which is seen as SpaceWorks version.
So, but you like the Decimator because of its maneuverability. Even though it has low agility, it has a 360-degree firing arc, no red maneuvers.
Hull.
The hull is 12.
Yeah.
In the game that we just played, I tried killing this thing for like 7 or 8 turns.
You used like 3 different cluster missiles.
I used cluster missile. I used 2 torpedoes, cluster missiles. I still couldn't take it down. So yeah, a lot of durability there for 44 points. That's Commander Ken Kirk, but we'll get into the pilots in a little bit. My favorite Imperial ship is the TIE Phantom. There was a PC game called Rebel Assault 2 where I first found out about the TIE Phantom way back in the day. It was an FMV game where you played as Rookie 1, I think. But anyway, the TIE Phantom is awesome. It's just, even though it doesn't have a lot of hit points, 2 shields, 2 hull, you can move around the battlefield with that thing like no one's business, especially if you have like upgrades. Like, is it the cloaking device upgrade? There's a few different cloaking devices. The Tigerium or
This has it.
Stygium, what's that?
You have, the TIE Phantom, I think, is already built in with the cloaking device.
Right. Well, it has a cloak, but there are some upgrade cards that give that cloaking device. Like after you perform an attack,
you can keep them.
You can stay cloaked, or you can take a cloak action or something like that. So the TIE Phantom is excellent for people that know how to maneuver ships around the battlefield and stay out of the line of fire. Definitely not a ship you want to go toe-to-toe with a B-Wing with, but it's good for getting behind someone. Well, they could
use it for like...
But the downside, though, is when you're cloaked, you get a 2 extra agility, but you cannot fire.
Yeah.
Unlike Star Trek Attack Wing, you can uncloak and fire on the same round. With this game, you either have to stay cloaked or you have to uncloak in order to fire. So it's like if you have to choose one or the other. So cloaking in this game is a little bit less efficient, or not less efficient,
but it's kind of
compared to Star Trek Attack Wing, cloaking isn't as useful, but it's still good in some situations.
Like it's good against like an X-Wing, since it's for attack. It could like, if you can team out with like 2 TIE fighters, you could use the thing you step behind and then take them out.
Well, I love the TIE Phantom. I love the maneuverability and decloaking, especially the one pilot where I think it's Echo, where instead of using the 2 template, the straight, you can use the curves, and you can go all over the place. And you combine that with a barrel roll, you can be somewhere completely different, somewhere unexpected, and totally get the drop on your opponent. So I love the TIE Phantom for that reason. What's your second favorite Imperial ship?
It is
you have written down the TIE Defender.
Yes.
Why the TIE Defender?
It's a pretty good ship. It's kind of better than a TIE Interceptor, even though it has about the same stats.
The TIE Interceptor has, roughly the same, except it doesn't have shields.
Yes.
Whereas the TIE Defender does. The TIE Defender is expensive to put on the battlefield, but that 4K turn, that white maneuver K, that
would make
that is so overpowered. It's just unreal.
Yeah, and it says in the book that it would actually put a TIE Interceptor to shame. It can actually fly circles around an X-Wing while flying.
Well, yeah, I believe it. The TIE Defender, I think, has a little bit more maneuverability, too. I mean, the TIE Interceptors, I think, at close range, all they can do is the 1 hard turn. I don't think they can go straight. Can the TIE Defender, do you remember, go 1 straight, or...?
No, they can do 1 slight.
They can do 1...
They can go 1 straight.
Can they? I didn't think they could go 1 straight. I thought it was 1 hard turn.
Because they have the iron engine, which allows them the iron engine.
I'm sort of unprepared. I don't have all the... Actually... here we go.
Yeah, we do.
I have the deck here. Let's look at the... This isn't going to show me the maneuver dial, though, is it? It's in my box. Alright. Well, yeah, this is a bad idea, then. But, yeah, 3330, focus, barrel roll, boost. The TIE Defender doesn't have the boost ability or the evade ability.
But it has
However, the TIE Defender has the target lock.
Which allows it to shoot missiles.
So, definitely a more offensive weapon, whereas the TIE Interceptor is better at weaving around things.
And also, like he can use a heavy weapon and a missile. So you can use like the ion cannon, the Zabel, and then just next turn you could use a target lock on them and just hit them with a concussion missile.
Yeah, I actually, for my second favorite Imperial ship, I also picked the TIE Defender. Just again, I played TIE Fighter, which is a PC game. I keep referring back to my old days. I feel like a dinosaur. But with a TIE Defender, you had like 4 laser cannons, 2 ion cannons, concussion missiles. Unfortunately, I don't think the ion cannons aren't a default weapon in this game. You actually have to equip like a ion turret or something. I guess that's for balance purposes. But the TIE Defender just comes packed with a whole bunch of stuff. And again, the 4K turn is just outstanding. So with that said, again, we'll take a break. My camera only records in 10-minute increments. I don't have a video camera. I have a DSLR. So I'll go ahead and shut the video off here, and we'll touch on the pilots next. And we're back. We're going to do our favorite Rebel pilot. Yours, I knew the answer to this as soon as before you said it. What is it?
Gordon Solm.
He flies a what?
Why wait?
He is Horton Psalm every single time he plays the Rebels. Every single time.
Not all the time.
With a blaster or an ion turret. Always. Always, always, always. You are always Horton Psalm.
Because he's a good with
What is his special ability? When attacking
at range 2 to 3, you may roll any of your blank results.
When attacking at range 2 to 3, you may re-roll any of your blank results. Whether you're firing a primary or secondary weapon, that is pretty darn good. And it has a pilot skill of 8, so he is usually one of the ones to fire first. So that ensures that he's going to get a hit in there, maybe a hit. Better chance anyway.
But he has
especially if he has a target lock or a focus or something.
Turret only has 1 to 2. Any turrets would do 1 to 2. But a torpedo would do 2 to 3, which plus that torpedo's ability.
Right, so if you're using a torpedo at long range, this kicks in. If you're using a blaster turret at close range, this still kicks in. So again, whether you use a blaster turret, your primary, or your torpedoes, whatever, that ability is very
That's
powerful.
Right, I use them.
No, I understand. Completely agree. My favorite Rebel pilot, Wes Jansen. Don't get to use him very often, but his ability is, after you perform an attack, you may remove 1 focus, evade, or blue target lock token from the defender. So you are essentially debuffing ships on the other side of the battlefield. Not a lot of other ships do that. And when you fly Wes Jansen in formation with somebody else, this can be a very useful thing. He has a pilot skill of 8, and because he's one of the people that shoot first, he can get rid of that focus or target lock before the other ship even has a chance to use it. Unless you're flying against, say, Darth Vader or something who has a pilot skill of, what, 9? So, yeah, still, Wes Jansen outclasses or outpilots a lot of the other ships, and that ability just really comes in handy in a group setting. So I like Wes Jansen for that. Do you agree? You like?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to go on to the next one? Your second favorite Rebel? Second favorite Rebel pilot.
Wedge Antilles.
Wedge Antilles. I was torn. I wanted to pick this one. Why? What's his ability?
When attacking, reduce your defender's agility by 1 to a minimum of 0.
When attacking, reduce the defender's agility value by 1 to a minimum of 0. So basically, the defender rolls 1 less defense die on that attack.
And plus, if you had like a similar ability like this one on like another Rebel ship, it was similar to Wedge Antilles, and you have Wedge Jansen to attack first, like a similar ability could reduce the agility by 1. Plus, if you have like an evade token, you can root that too.
Right.
And it will make him have.
Now, on the one hand, like there's an upgrade card called Expose, where you can sacrifice an agility to give yourself an extra attack. So if you can, there's multiple ways to buff Wedge Antilles. In combination with the special ability, like he said. One thing that I don't like about Wedge Antilles, and I hate saying this, but this ability becomes crap when you're fighting against a ship with a low agility value already, like the Lambda or the Decimator. The Decimator already has a agility value of 0 to begin with.
But if you have him, it'll
I know, Commander. I know. The Decimator does have ways around that to gain agility as it plays, but Wedge Antilles will kick in most of the time, but there are some cases where it won't.
Lambda have some agility, barely.
Yeah, barely.
I think they have like.
But I agree, this is a powerful card. Don't get me wrong. Wedge Antilles is definitely someone I would have picked if it weren't for the person I picked.
Or if you like against like a TIE fighter, which have 3 agility, you could reduce the agility by 1, which would.
Yeah, it makes it easier to kill, say, Howl Runner in a TIE fighter swarm. Alright, so my second favorite is Karan Horn. I remember Karan from the X-Wing series books. Is it Michael Stackpole, I think the author was. But anyway, yeah, they're behind me somewhere. Yeah, Star Trek all over the place, and Star Wars. Yeah,
is it
right
Black War or the
Michael A. Stackpole. There's Aaron Alston. I think Michael Stackpole was the main guy. But anyway, Karan Horn. His ability says, where did I put it? At the start of the end phase, you may perform 1 attack. You cannot attack during the next round. So basically, you can attack during the end phase and then sacrifice your attack for the next round. Very good. Let's say you're at range 1 with somebody and you miss the first shot. Well, you can use this special ability to get your second chance at range 1, and then on the next turn, veer off, regroup, and do whatever it is you have to do. So I like that ability.
Or if you have like. In one of the earlier games we did with him, he had that thing that wouldn't let him attack the 1 turn.
Mm-hmm.
If he had it on him,
well,
he could if that thing you attack, but the second time goes at the end phase, you can attack that to make like a attack.
What's nice about this ability is like abilities like marksmanship. You can use it both attacks.
Yeah,
so if you use marksmanship during a turn, then you kick this in at the end phase. That marksmanship will kick in for the second.
That's deadly.
Yeah. So.
Or predator.
Again, or predator. Yeah. So those are our rebel pilots. Imperial pilot wise, what's your favorite Imperial pilot?
Depends on probably him.
Commander Kenkirk. If you have no shields and at least one damage card assigned to you, increase your agility value by 1. He flies the Decimator. I should have said that Coran Horn is in the E-Wing, Wes Jansen was in the X-Wing, and Horton Psalm was the Y-Wing, Wedge Antilles was the X-Wing. Commander Kenkirk here is in the Decimator. And basically it gives the Decimator some extra survivability by giving it agility value when its shields go down. And because the Decimator only has 4 shields, that'll kick in pretty quickly. It has 12 hull. Had it had like 12 shields and only 4 hull, then maybe that wouldn't be so good. But because it gets that agility early on, once the shields go down, it gives it a lot of survivability that way. And it has a pilot skill of 6 on top of that. So that's a good one. Anything else before we move on?
It also kind of, that ability could help. But also, if you have like 11 hull, you could use that against like ships like A-Wing. A-Wings usually have less attack, so you can use that ability and use that, and it'll help defend.
A-Wings only have 2 attack strength, so.
Or like if you're like shooting an asteroid at range 3, you get like 3 defense die, which would help you against like an X-Wing or B-Wing, which B-Wings are pretty powerful.
Yeah, depending on the circumstances, you could get a lot of agility value.
Right.
On a Decimator, one that doesn't have any to begin with.
And it's really huge, so it's...
Yeah. What's next here? My favorite Imperial pilot, Darth Vader. During your perform action step, you may perform 2 actions. There's no way around that. Come on, Darth Vader. How could you not want to fly as Darth Vader? Darth Vader, 2 actions, focus and target lock. Normally with like let's say at a Y-Wing or a B-Wing or an X-Wing, normally if you have proton torpedoes and you want to use your focus in addition to your target lock, you'd have to wait a turn with that X-Wing. Like you'd have to perform the target lock on your first turn, then on the following turn, then perform a focus, and then spend the target lock to fire your torpedoes to use that focus with it. But with Darth Vader here, you can use your target lock and your focus on the same round, double whammy. Or, if you want to, you could do a target lock in a barrel roll. Get yourself out of there, whatever the case may be. So, there's a lot of durability and a lot of viability with Darth Vader, I think.
Yeah, I believe it do. But it would be funny if you had that on a Y-Wing. Like, you have a blaster, you can get focus and use the turret lock with the blaster.
That would be too overpowered.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Using a turret along with that.
Or, my other favorite, if I had to pick another favorite, I'd be Merrick Steele.
Merrick Steele. Oh yeah, he's the other. What's his? Is that the damage cards or something? I can't remember.
It allows you, if you like something, you're allowed to flip. If you have face down, you can flip it face up and resolve it. It's really powerful, especially during attacking.
Let me look.
It's like great in the beginning.
I'm losing my voice. That's the Decimators.
Oh yeah, that's good. I thought it was TIE Advanced.
Okay, so what were you saying about Merrick Steele? Here he is. When your attack deals a face-up damage card to the defender, instead draw 3 damage cards, choose 1 to deal, and discard the others. So, basically you can pick which face-up damage card to deal against the enemy. So if it's a direct hit, and he only has 1 hit left, you can finish him off that way,
Or he only has, like if he only had 2 hull and you use a direct hit, you can just destroy him out with that direct hit. It's a really good card.
Second favorite Imperial pilot, who would he be?
Major Rhymer.
Major Rhymer, another favorite of yours. When attacking with a secondary weapon, you may increase or decrease the weapon range by 1 to a limit of range 1 to 3. So basically, if you have, advanced proton torpedoes, which is range 1 only, you could bump that up to range 2. Or if you had proton torpedoes, that's range 2 to 3, And with Major Reimer's ability, you can do it to 1. If you're close range, you can attack with that. So that's a decent ability.
Yeah, cluster missiles. That only goes to 1 and 2. But if you add that 3, makes 3 the thing, and you get to attack twice.
And the nice thing about secondary weapons is that the defense die aren't. The range, the number of defense dice aren't affected by the range. Only the primary weapon has any bearing on how close you are to the enemy. But with a secondary weapon, you can fire at range 3, and the defender does not get to roll an additional defense die. So it gives Major Reimer a little bit more maneuverability, a little bit more room to.
And gives him a lot of power. And plus, he has he can.
TIE bombers have, to begin with, 2 concussion missiles, 2 proton torpedo slots, 1 bomb slot, and they have 6 hull. They have 6.
If you just add all this together with Major Reimer, you would be killing.
Yeah, right.
Rebel transporting and survive that.
Major Reimer is a unique, so unfortunately, you can only have 1 of him on the battlefield at a time.
Yeah, but if you have another.
But if you have, say, 2 other TIE bombers along with him, yeah. A TIE bomber swarm with concussion missiles or something, pretty powerful. Now, my second favorite is Howl Runner. This was a hard decision for me because there are a lot of Imperial pilots I like. A lot of TIE. There's is it Major Braxer? I can't remember the name, but it was a TIE Defender pilot. I wanted to choose this one, but.
You just couldn't make up your mind?
I couldn't, well, it's not that I couldn't make up my mind. There was something that stuck out about, here he is. That's Whisper. I like the TIE Phantom pilots, too.
Echo and Spike.
Alright, well, this is out of order. Oh, here he is. Rexler Brath. After you perform an attack that deals at least 1 damage card to the defender, you may spend a focus token to flip those cards face up. So if you use a heavy laser cannon, get, say, 3 hits, or 3 hits and a crit. You have to turn that crit back to a hit because of the heavy laser. But with this ability, whenever you start giving them damage cards, you can spend a focus to flip those damage cards face up. So that's a way to get around the heavy laser cannon stipulation where you have to flip it from a crit to a hit.
Or other, abilities.
So I would have picked that one, but Howl Runner, just for the sake of being great in a team. Howl Runner's ability is when another friendly ship at range 1 is attacking with its primary weapon, it may re-roll 1 attack die. And that is key to any TIE swarm that you put together. If you have 5 TIE fighters next to Howl Runner, they can all re-roll 1 of their dice.
Oh my god.
What's wrong with that? Oh my god.
I think that's something. Mara Missile at range 1. 4 attack die, you get to reroll 1.
That's not too bad. Yeah, well, I mean, still, Howl Runner is a great team player.
Yeah,
that's all there is to it.
If you do that with Mara Missile, you got 4 attack die right there.
Yeah, but you can only reroll 1 of them. That's the thing. I mean, but still, I mean, it's not the fact that I can reroll an attack die. It's the fact that Howl Runner affects everybody near her. Is it a her or a him? I can't remember.
I don't know.
I think it's a her. But it's just the fact that Howl Runner can affect everyone within range of her is awesome. I mean, that's just, again, great team player. If you can keep your ships in formation, if you're a more advanced player who is used to playing this game and you're used to playing ships in formation, Howl Runner is someone that you want to put into your squad to buff everyone around it. And that's just, I don't know.
That's a good... sometimes, in the battle, you want to, if you want to stick together, the people together, you can protect each other. Especially, Dutch Vander, he's for the...
Dutch Vander was a Y-Wing pilot.
I think he was the leader of the Gold Squadron.
Right, he allows... He
does some, I think he,
I think he gives someone else a target lock whenever whenever he assigns... Was it a foe? No.
I think it was a target
Whenever he does a target lock, someone else in range of him can get a target lock too.
He can transfer.
I think. This is off the top of my head, mind you, I don't remember. But yeah, so I get you. So that's basically it. We thought about doing upgrade cards too, but we have a stack like this high of upgrade cards, so we didn't have time to go through all of them. But I did write down quickly some of the ones I did like, and maybe in a future video we'll go ahead and check out each category and and go through each category, see which ones we like out of each category. It's worth noting real quick that we did not include the huge ships. We just did large and small. Now, some of the upgrade cards I did write down. Predator. I like Predator.
That's fun.
That's one where you can re-roll attack dice.
I already know who.
Well, great for the
For
well. The TIE
Phantom.
Phantom, I would think outmaneuver would be great with the TIE Phantom because the outmaneuver gives you a buff whenever you are outside the enemy's firing arc. And if there's one thing that the TIE Phantom can do, it's maneuver itself out of the way of a firing arc.
But Predator also could help because he does have 4 attacks.
Right.
Like if he's talking like.
Well, yeah. Obviously, the more attack dice you can reroll, the better. But still.
Like this. If he was targeting this, and he could use Predator to reroll, if you say you get 2 hits but 2 blanks, the Predator, because 2 are lower.
Well, yeah, the Predator, if the pilot skill is 2 or lower, you get to re-roll 2 dice instead of 1. Right. So again, the Predator is great against lower pilot skilled ships. I also wrote down again, outmaneuver is another great one, great for the TIE Phantom and other ships that can get around the outside. Tactician, I like Tactician because it basically stun locks. It's a MMORPG term. Stun lock meaning that. I think it puts stress on the enemy when you attack them at range 2. If you hit them with an attack at range 2 or attack them at range 2, I can't remember the exact wording, but it puts a stress token on them. It prevents them from K-turning and getting the jump on you on the next turn. So if you can keep them at range 2 and keep attacking them and keep hitting them or whatever, you know, it stun locks them into continuing to move forward or just turn a little bit.
But you could just... That would be kind of waste because you just use like an ion cannon and just disable them.
Well, yeah, if you have an ion cannon, but at the same time, the ion cannon only does 1 damage. Whereas if you can well, yeah, it'll disable them.
Like
but with the ion cannon though, it plinks away at their health slowly.
Yeah.
With Tactician, you can inflict 3 or 4 hits of damage, and they will still receive a stress as long as they're at range 2, and they won't be able to get away from you. So you can kill them a lot more quickly with Tactician than you can with an Ion. But I agree, the Ion is a good way to maintain control.
If you use an Ion Cannon at range 2, you could use that, and then if you have like a target, but Ion Cannon, you don't need any like focus or anything. So you can use your
Tactician, you don't need to use focus anything.
Yeah, but if you have like a target lock, you can use the target lock with the Ion
Cannon. You can use it with the Tactician too.
No, but if you use
he loves his ion cannons.
No, if you use the ion cannon to make them go 1 straight, that's when you can use the attack with a torpedo.
Well, I agree. The ion cannon will force them to go 1 straight, whereas the Tactician will simply put stress on him. He can still make a red maneuver, but he won't be able to take an action or do anything special. With the ion, though, he can still take an action on his following move.
But he only moves 1 straight, which allows you to get a position for like a torpedo.
Right. So but with Tactician, again, you can inflict more damage at once and still limit his movement on the next. That's my point. But no, I totally get what you're saying with the ion. I also wrote down Gunner, which basically allows you. It's a oops do-over kind of card where if you miss the first time, you get an extra attack or primary attack.
Cluster missiles.
Mm-hmm. And finally, R2-D2. I think everyone's favorite card, Astromech.
He's one of the most famous characters ever.
That is a card that, if you see that on the battlefield, you cannot take pot shots at that ship. You have to focus it down quickly. If you give that ship time to run away and perform a whole bunch of green maneuvers, the shield will just keep coming right back up. My strategy when I see R2-D2 is I either ignore the ship completely, or I make sure that all of my ships are attacking all at once so that R2-D2 does not have time to replenish those ships. Alright, apologies there. Like I said, my camera only records in 10-minute increments. So, yeah, it cut me off. I guess it doesn't like R2-D2, which is definitely a crime against humanity, if I may say so. Alright, so just to recap, R2-D2, great card, recovers shields, blah. Anything else that you can think of before we go?
Like Mercenary Co-Pilot?
Mercenary Co-Pilot. At range 3, you can change a hit to a crit.
You got like...
Is that it? Is that right?
There's a astromech similar to R2-D2. I forget what it does, but it like allows you to regain 1 shield, but I forget what the ability is. I think you can use a focus at the end.
Oh, you can use a focus token at the end phase to recover a shield or something?
Yeah.
I remember something like that. It's been a while. I don't have the upgrade deck in front of me, so I couldn't tell you, but I do remember something like that. Honestly, there's nothing like having a stealth modification on, say, an A-Wing to give it extra agility, or, say, a TIE Interceptor. Putting a shield on an X-Wing with, say, Biggs on it, or R2-D2, for that matter, on Biggs, to keep him alive. That way everyone has to attack him keeping all of your other ships alive, and giving Biggs that extra survivability will really matter in the long run. Trying to think what else. I don't know.
Munition failsafe.
Munitions failsafe, that's a relatively new card. If you miss with one of your proton torpedoes or missiles or whatever secondary weapon, you don't have to discard it. You can keep it. Is that it? I guess we'll call it quits for now. Again, maybe we'll do another video down the line featuring some of these upgrade cards and list our favorites there too. So yeah, there you have it. If you enjoyed this video, definitely leave comments. In fact, go ahead and leave comments. Tell us what your favorite ships and pilots are. I'll be interested in hearing what your favorites are and why. And if I get enough answers, maybe I'll go ahead and create another video and just sort of read off the answers that you provide and share them with everyone else. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just spur of the moment kind of thing. So, yeah, if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Check out my official website, www.dadsgamingaddiction.com. This is Vince and Vinny Jr. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.